I played and reviewed Plants vs. Zombies Garden Warfare. I thought it was delightful. I'm a big Plants vs. Zombies fan. There's just something about the characters, granted they're all zombies and weirdo plants, but that cracked me up. I like the aesthetic of the game. Tough sell, potentially. I remember when I was reviewing the game, a lot of people kind of came in with questioning like expressions on their faces, like, what do you think of this? Is it actually fun? And I had a good time. I thought it was really fun. I'm curious what your initial impressions. You probably had a blast with it. What did you think, Mr. Matthew Blair?
I had the same kind of mental process. I was very interested to find out how the game even came to be. It doesn't make sense for it to have happened, but I'm so happy that it did. It's one of those games where it doesn't take itself too seriously, and because of that, they were free to do pretty much anything.
And you're now exposed to it because it's on PlayStation 4.
Yes. And I just loved the idea of that game happening in the first place, and it turned out to be everything I hoped it would be.
Team Fortress Garden Warfare.
Yes. No, it does have a very Team Fortress feel because, for that reason actually, because it doesn't have to take itself too seriously. You just jump in, have some fun, shoot some things, and go on with your day. And there are some unlockables that some people value them more than others. Whatever, it's fun. You just keep unlocking more stuff.
It's so jolly. Like when I play Battlefield 4, I get tense. I get so tense after a few hours in that game. I'm just on edge, sweating, anxiety. This is the most carefree competitive multiplayer game that I've played in recent memory. I like that it doesn't keep track of deaths as well, so everyone's not going, KD, kill death ratio. It's just points and kills. A lot of the modes are team focused, so you always feel like you're part of a team. There's no real lone wolf aspect.
I like the Sunflower. She's my favorite. Just because you can heal people. Like I love going in and backing somebody up.
Yeah.
It just has doesn't do a lot of damage, but it has I think one of the most satisfying weapons, just like a machine gun of like
Sunflowers.
Can we talk about the sound effects?
Oh yeah, the sound effects,
delightful.
but just tons of characters. Even when they're like walking, they make little like grunts and breathing noises.
But like you're walking around as the pea shooter, most people probably start with that grunt class, and you're just kind of going pew pew pew.
Yeah.
But then you hit that one boost where you turn into the cannon, and it's like you're behind a 50 caliber, especially if you have like surround sound and subwoofer turned up. You're having fun, all these jolly sounds, and all of a sudden you press triangle and you're so satisfying.
And I think you mentioned competitive multiplayer. Definitely feels competitive. You can get really good at this game.
Yeah.
If you're good at competitive shooters, if you play a lot of Team Fortress, you will jump in and actually do a very good job. It's not just silly because we can all very slapstick and there's lots of silly traps and stuff like that. Like you can tell, like one class we were talking about is the Venus flytrap. I don't know what the chomper.
Yes.
And it has some stealth stuff there. Like if you're not paying attention, he can sneak up and just do like a one-hit kill. And it's definitely something that you want to look for, like spotting him in the environment. And they have so much customization that it's kind of tough, like seeing these guys coming. But yeah, definitely lots of tactical opportunities. Definitely a difference between how classes function. So it's kind of fun, like in the middle of a match, to really think like, do I want to keep playing as the same class? And definitely something that not only is it fun, like it's one thing to like be playing Battlefield and you're like, oh, I'm gonna be a sniper now. It's another thing if the sniper's like this goofy looking funny thing that makes fun sound effects.
Cactus.
And like you're saying, yeah, it definitely like takes the
Cactus seems OP.
I like the zoom in on the guy that killed you so you can see like what they were doing. Like, like what they look like.
I have to say I did fully appreciate the zombie in a ghillie suit.
Right.
That made me laugh out loud. And few games will really do this, especially like the competitive online multiplayer, like you were saying, Hubert. It's like most times when you die, you're just like, that was bullshit.
It's tension.
But when you die and the camera comes to a zombie in a ghillie suit, just being like, it's hilarious.
You can't not laugh.
Like,
and actually a nice incentive to go seek out, because it sucks that you have to buy packs and kind of do like some blind purchases to get some of the items that you want in the game. But it definitely incentivizes you if you see some guy that schooled you wearing just some awesome face mask or some fun little like replacements. Definitely. And they've been adding a lot of stuff for free. A lot of the updates they've just been adding to the game. So if you're just jumping into PS4, I'm sure there's a ton of a lot more content there now.
Did you see the headline? They're adding the Mr. Chester.
From
Cheetos, especially more Cheeto packs.
But again, something that you're not like, that ruins the integrity of this game. It's just a silly game.
Wacky.
That can't happen at this point, really. They could probably change everything about it, and it would still be a lot of fun, just because They clearly spent enough time researching. If they didn't borrow people from Battlefield, I'm not sure exactly what that team was comprised of, but they did a fantastic job putting it together. You don't feel like the game is cheap in any way, and yet it feels like the mere concept of the game when you hear about it. And I'm sure most people did feel this way, especially gauging the energy before the reviews started coming out, was that they were just like, oh, it's just some one-off throwaway, like some advertiser paid for this game to be made. As it turns out, it's actually a very well put together game, especially for the first one in a franchise, right?
Right.
I really enjoyed the maps a lot. They give you a little lore too before when you're doing the coffins and garden and coffin mode. They'll just give you a little lore before, like, oh, the zombie or the flowers have a giant sunflower light tower. You know, the zombies are going to destroy it, and the maps just felt lived in. There's the city map and the neighborhood. They just feel like they tell a story.
Yeah.
So
and they're different, so you can tell where people are. Like a lot of the zones don't look, identical. So if you're screen cheating or if you're, trying to tell where threats are coming from, you can like, oh, okay, I know where I am and I can recognize where stuff is. Not too big, not too small. I like how the suburban area has that one main drag that you can kind of focus on, like what side of the street you want to be on.
Sure. And the makeshift conquest mode, which they kind of borrowed from Battlefield as well. Right, like you keep opening up the map, but the map's not too big so that you get lost at any given time. It was a brilliant way to incorporate that.
And not a game that you're going to carry like all sorts of massive expectations in. Even like Plants vs. Zombies 2 when that came out, it was just like, oh, okay, another Plants vs. Zombies. I just want new stuff. I want it to be funny. And I appreciate the payment structure that they have moving forward, where it's like they're offering so much free stuff, but again, you can invest if you want to. Did they have payment stuff set up? I remember they were like debating on dabbling with that.
So,
because it did launch with
the
that.
prices are actually kind
Fair.
of remarkably reasonable for what you normally see with microtransactions. I think they came from the microtransaction area of apps and like touch-based microtransactions, where it's like just a couple of bucks here and there. You actually get more in Plants vs. Zombies Garden Warfare than I think I've ever seen. When you try to think about relatively what you get when you pay. I kind of equate it similar to the Mass Effect, like the Spectre packs, where you pay like $1, $2, $3 for the sequential order of packs. You're just buying the coins, and the amount, actually, I think the most you can pay is 20.
it was. So the packs are 1,000 to 40,000 coins, and the 40,000 one guarantees you get a character, which is such a nice touch because then you know what you're getting. It's like the characters are the coolest reward, and you average about 4,000 coins a game, or 3,000 or 4,000, and to buy 40,000, the most pack in terms of dollars, I think is like $2 or $3.
Yeah, $2 at most.
So.
And again, so much of this is customization.
Yeah.
So much of this is like you don't need that stuff to just jump in the game and have a good time.
Exactly. It does feel pretty inconsequential. It doesn't make you even stress in paying for it.
I think you do have tactical,
some of the
stat
weapons
stuff that can give you better. You can like if you like any one of the guys, you can like get that one bonus to his weapon, which means like his weapon's slightly stronger. But again, not something like there was no death I ever had where I'm just like that's it. I'm throwing my controller.
Someone
down,
froze me, and I said the freeze gun. I was like, oh, whatever.
Well, they're different. Yeah, they're different types of the characters. So like the chomper that I got when I booted the game for the first time was like a fire chomper, and so like did the same amount of damage, but again, just like a different visual aesthetic.
Like hats.
The perfect question that someone asked me when I was playing it. Okay, you're having fun right now. You have warm, fuzzy feelings. Are you going to play this next weekend? I mean, this is something you're actually going to like revisit. And I have played it a couple times since I reviewed it, but it's not something it's not something that I make like a date when an update comes out. Where I'm like, oh god, I know I got to jump back in this weekend. Sure. I might check it out later and enjoy that there is more content. But when are you going to play this next?
That's a good question. I'm notorious for just moving on to the next game and beating it. I don't linger on any one game in particular for too long, but there was something to be said about how relaxing this game was.
Yeah.
So and it's competitive. So it's the most relaxing competitive game I've played in a while. So, when you don't have a lot of time, you get home at night and you're groggy or something, just throwing that on would be a good alternative as opposed to something a little more intense. So
the thing about that is at $30 or $40, I don't feel as much guilt for leaving it behind, which I'm the same way. I've left behind $60 games that I paid for.
Yeah.
I'm probably 5 total hours, not very much, of the multiplayer in so far, and I definitely plan on going back a few more times throughout the week. mostly because PS4 right now little quiet as of in terms of like the more disc-based AAA games.
Destiny is coming.
And of course, Destiny is coming, so that'll trump my time eventually. But yeah, I don't really feel like I didn't get my money's worth if I only get 10 hours out of the multiplayer. Like, I enjoyed something that these guys clearly loved putting together, and when you can tell that from just a couple of hours, even the first match, going through the menus and all of the multiplayer modes, you understand the story of the game, and like you could just tell that somebody loved working on it, and I'm sure a lot of people did. That's great. I'm happy to support them, let alone play the game. That'll bring me back eventually.
So
Well said,
yeah.
Blair. Well said.
So expectations
I
low
love it.
enough, price not too high.
Yeah.
Seems like the perfect mix.
I think this was as close to a perfect game release that you could see on this, like the next gen now being current gen. I think, not being afraid to price it lower and putting together a well-polished game, yeah, it's great. It's fantastic.
Well, I want to play with you guys. I got to get on PS4 now.
Yeah.
Do
Thanks,
it.
dudes.
Dead